Hey Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today I'd like to start just zoomed out a little bit, get that big picture of Bitcoin and via Bitcoin, the big picture of crypto in general. We've started, out so humbly, down here, this $100 level, right? And now we're all the way up here at this $40,000 level. It's been quite a journey of ups and downs. And during this whole process, the industry has been fairly unregulated, mostly unnoticed, and has gotten a free ride in many cases, with a lot of free money just being printed, put out into the system, and then people essentially gambling on altcoins, especially back in this era, right? When altcoins really didn't do that much. People just talked about Bitcoin as digital gold. They didn't even understand what that meant, quite frankly. It was just something that people said. And most of these altcoins are dead. If you had altcoins from this era, they're dead. They're not doing anything. You wouldn't trade it. But, this era is a little bit different. In this era, we're a magnitude of an order higher up in price. We're on the log scale. So these numbers are increasing exponentially. And adoption in the world is taking place. So reflect upon that for a minute, because the current situation that we find ourselves in is that the US is finally adopting crypto policies. And it's not just adopting crypto policies, on a agency by agency level, but we're finally having an American policy that's coming together, that's interagency, that brings all of the government together, a whole government approach. And, some people have mixed feelings about what that could mean for crypto. But the fact is, as you have an asset that's just surging in price like this, that's getting adopted in country after country, that has, 10,000 different, you know, altcoins out there that could be used for both good and evil, that could scam people, or that could make people rich, it's important to start getting regulation. The industry isn't going to regulate itself. The scammers will always be out there. They'll always win. The lowest common denominator is what we're going to sink to. And that's not anything to do with being against innovation or being against entrepreneurship or being against technology. Actually, I love all of those things. It's just a fact. Business loves stability. And in the chaos of an international order where these things are being traded country to country, you know, between allies and enemies, where it's being used on the dark web, where it's being used to fund Russian oligarchs, who basically support Putin's empire to overtake Ukraine, and where it can undermine the safety of countries by destabilizing the economies. As funny as it is to say that the dollar could go away someday and that we could use Bitcoin, that's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And we need a transition to whatever the next iteration of the future is, because it's not going to be Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin will be there. Of course, Bitcoin will be there. But it's not primarily going to be Bitcoin. It's going to be stable coins issued by governments. Probably China, Russia, probably the European Union will figure out something, and a whole host of other countries making their national currencies into digital formats. And then slowly, 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 the authoritarian regimes are going to just tighten their grip and choke the life out of innovation and technology and everything good that you love about crypto in their countries, the same way that they do with everything else, right? Today, Russia is no longer a free country, but you're allowed to use Bitcoin. What a terrible arrangement, to be honest. The press is shut down. You can't even get the information that you want. The internet is being cut off. Russia's trying to create an independent internet just so it can sever itself off from the rest of the world. It's going down that path of North Korea, threatening other countries with nukes if it doesn't get exactly what it wants. So Bitcoin and crypto have to find its place in this world. And part of that means regulation. It means that democratic, free, you know, rights-based peoples in countries all across the world who still believe in those things and don't just want to cave to the authoritarians, but want to have a stable base to build upon, can do so with reliable rules. And so that's where we are today. And while the authoritarians are banning it, the US now has a Bitcoin, basically a crypto policy, right? Well, it's coming together. It's coming together to form one. And what we can take a look at here is a surge in price based upon that, right? We're almost $42,000, up 10% today. Based upon a leak about Biden's executive order, right? Well, what are people saying in the government, right? What's the Biden administration think? Well, people who have reviewed what's going on, they're saying that it creates a pretty good balance between innovation and risk. I mean, why would prices be surging 10% today upon the leak of it if it was going to destroy crypto, right? So this is a good thing. This is a good thing. The US isn't banning crypto. The US isn't just putting the authority for crypto in the hands of the SEC, right? You know, the guys who've been hassling Ripple and XRP basically, right? Having some kind of hypocritical positions with Ethereum and Bitcoin, but targeting other altcoins. Different agencies, each making their own policies, confusing the hell out of the market. Right? That was the state of play before Biden issued this executive order to clean up the mess of the last decade. And it's a good thing. It is a good thing. Because when business has reliability, when business knows what the rules are, they thrive. They're willing to put their money into it. They're willing to put some skin in the game. Until then, they're very hesitant. They're very hesitant. So a lot of this pump here is actually new industries. It's not just people using their stimulus checks. Yeah, the stimulus checks pumped us up, right? Individual stimulus checks pumped us up. But the institutions got into it. They took it over. Instead of these blow off tops from the miners and the kind of scrappy people who used to be controlling Bitcoin, the old exchanges and the dark webs and all that stuff, It's been taken over. It's had basically a hostile corporate takeover, right? By secretly by companies like Facebook and Microsoft and you know the banks and all of these companies, entertainment companies, right? That are looking at NFT technologies. They're looking at metaverse. They want to own part of a DeFi because DeFi is what threatens them. So if they have an existential threat, they'd rather own part of it, right? They'd rather own part of it than go out of business and just leave the industry to their competitor. And so they're starting to get in on it. And you can see that in the chart. Whereas this was us regular people just chaotically with our feelings. This kind of was a reset. Of course, we have blow off tops and crypto winters because that's who we are, emotional creatures just trading things that honestly didn't have that much purpose. It was kind of like it's kind of like a Ponzi scheme. I mean, come on, let's be real, right? Whoever, you know, whoever bought here got to have the ride to the top, and whoever didn't sell had to hold the bag all the way back down. Up, down, completely, right? It's these 80%, 90% retracements sometimes on these things, right? I think average is somewhere around 80%. The Ponzi scheme. Everyone buy, everyone buy, everyone buy. Keep buying while I cash out. Oh, just hold, just hodl, just hodl. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Just wait, 1, 2, 3 years. If you just hold for 3 years, you'll be okay. Oh wait, you're still not to your all-time high? Okay, hold another year. you know? I mean, that's a Ponzi scheme, right? This these prices weren't based on, financial statements. They weren't based upon transactions. They weren't based upon any added value in the market. And it was all premised on a concept of it as being like a digital gold or trying to sell the concept of these altcoins, which didn't really make sense, to be honest, and couldn't achieve their promises. And so, of course, they die during those crypto winners, right? But something happened. Something happened when we reached a certain saturation point, when we got into the trillions of dollars of value, and the banks took notice, and the technology got better, and the new class of crypto started coming out, especially in 2020, with a lot of promise, a lot of functional promise, a lot of speed, a lot of security, a lot of capability, and also drawing talent from big technology companies. They started to go to crypto companies. And that got the attention of a lot of powerful people, right? Especially as those technologies became functional enough to use to bypass taxes on a large scale. That got the government's attention. And so what do we see? We see a more controlled crypto. We're starting to see rounded tops, rounded tops, rounded bottoms. Not so spiky anymore. A little bit rounded, 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 rounded. Is this going to round up? Or is it just rounding down? Very gentle, very easy for business to digest, right? Business doesn't like instability. Business loves stability. It loves rules. And so what this means is we're entering an era of rules-based crypto, right? There's no way around it. If you want to get to the next price levels, you have to invite in big business. You have to invite in government. There's no way around it, right? El Salvador may have been the first domino to fall, but there will be others. Russia, Ukraine, the US is now looking at it. And what all these countries want are really different once they get into it, and how they regulate will be very different. And so you need a leader. You need a leader who isn't anti-technology, which the authoritarians are, right? The authoritarians don't want crypto. China banned crypto. China banned crypto, all of it. Authoritarians hate crypto. Freedom loving, democratic, rights based, constitutional, people just want an innovation risk balance. And of course, it's always going to favor the elites in some way because they write the rules. But having those rules in place is what brings everybody in. It's what stops people from saying crypto is just for criminals and has people saying, wow, look at what Facebook's doing with crypto. Wow, look what Microsoft is doing with crypto. Look what the government is doing with crypto. I should be in crypto, right? Not meme coins. Whatever Elon Musk is thinking about with Doge, just pushing stupid Doge memes. That's for crypto people, right? That's for crypto people. Or people who like to buy lottery tickets. That's not for business, right? I mean, maybe in the future he could make something out of it, but he's not in charge of Doge. Give me a break. That's just memes and trolling, and quite frankly, probably pumping his own bags or the bags of his wealthy friends who bought in, probably under his recommendation, scratching each other's backs, okay? Don't trust these guys, you know? Don't trust these guys. But rules are good, and so is enthusiasm. And Elon Musk bring the enthusiasm, and now Biden's bringing the rules. So let's see where this goes, right? We've already had the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston and Massachusetts Institute of Technology releasing their kind of statements and their drafts of what a central bank digital currency might look like. So this is being investigated by the government. Okay, they're looking into these things. Universities are helping them. Crypto companies are helping them. Countries are going to have digital money in the future. It's just, there's no way around it. And so, are we going to build a friendship with the government, or are we just going to pretend that we hate them, right? When in reality, it needs to be a partnership. It needs to be a partnership because otherwise you just have China issuing its, central bank digital currency, the digital yen, where, or is it yuan, where they can turn your money off in your pocket, right? Where they can control their partners by threatening to turn their money off and reducing its value. Do we want these authoritarian types to make these decisions on their own, or do we want to be friends with them? Do we want to make friendship? We have to petition our government. We have to talk to our government. We have to share our knowledge and our enthusiasm with the government and find ways to make stability in this industry that works for the industry. And I want to show you some hope here. The top Senate Democrat, the top Senate Democrat says regulating crypto would be like killing the internet in its infancy. This is a good sign. This is a good sign. Okay. Of course, there's always going to be someone like Senator Warren who's, looking after the banks. But when you're having these pretty old men who are the top ranking Senate Democrat, right? And I believe he's on the Finance Committee. Yep, he's on the Senate Finance Committee, right? He says he doesn't want to kill crypto. Top Senate Democrat. He doesn't want to kill crypto. He just wants to make it work. He believes that it's like the internet, right? That crypto is going to be as big as the internet. This is a very powerful voice to have as a friend. And I think guys like Biden, I think he's listening to this and he's going to try to make a fair way forward. And that's why we see prices surging right now. Right? That's why we have commentators calling it an innovation and risk balance. Because you want the industry to be innovative. You want, if you're an American, right? Especially if you're a wealthy American, you want America to thrive. And if crypto is like the internet in terms of how it can change the future, then just like the internet, you want America to dominate that. You want America to be an innovator. You want America to lead that. You don't want to kill it. I don't think we have to be afraid of America killing crypto. We're going to find some balance just like we did with the internet. And this is the narrative that even the Democrats are coming up with in the Senate Finance Committee. So it's going to be a rough ride. There's going to be ups and downs. We're going to be looking forward probably to a digital dollar someday. There's 1.7 million transactions per second. It's twice as much as Visa or MasterCard can handle. All right. And a lot of people were talking about how, this memo by Yellen got leaked. Actually, they just, and then deleted. They actually had the wrong address. It's JY0644. It's people keep passing around the link JY0643. And yeah, that one doesn't work. They updated it maybe with typo corrections or whatever. But let's just see what the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States says, right? The leader of the Treasury of the United States. What does she have to say about President Biden's executive order? President Biden's historic executive order calls for a coordinated and comprehensive approach to digital asset policy. This approach will support responsible innovation that could result in substantial benefits for the nation, consumers, and businesses. It will also address risk related to illicit finance, protecting consumers and investors, and preventing threats to the financial system and broader economy. Of course, that's what people want, right? You don't want a world that's based upon money laundering or where criminals can just transact any way that they want to, and there's no way to stop it. If you're a mom or a dad, or you have a business, subject to theft, right? You don't want to have just unlimited opportunity for illegal activities. I understand the libertarian perspective on this, but show me an example of that working anywhere in the world, right? It's as extreme. It's as extreme as the socialist, the perfect communist like dream, right? The perfect libertarian dream is as terrible, right? It's really as terrible as the biggest communist dream. Really, I mean, when you think about all these things to their extremes, when you look at examples of how civilization breaks down into individualism, and how people end up getting scattered, and authoritarians rise out of that type of mess. Like, there's always going to be somebody who builds a gang, a bigger gang, right? So then you start carving out these caveats, like, oh well, we meant, of course, we're libertarian, but we're still going to have a military, of course. So of course we need, military leaders, and of course that means we need generals and a military industrial complex and a president, and oh, okay, we're talking about a government, you know. And then to make sure the rules are followed, of course, we need courts. And to have courts, of course, we need to have security for those courts, so we need police. And those police definitely need to protect, other buildings also, because all of this runs together. And, if there's a fire, then it would be good to, know that they're going to arrive. And, so the libertarian idealism is the same thing as like a communist idealism. It's wackadoo. It's wackadoo, okay? Business loves stability, and government has a place in that. You don't have to be you don't have to love the government. You can have a friendly rivalry with these, basically they're asshats, right? Most of them are asshats, right? We have a rivalry. It should be a friendly rivalry, but we have a rivalry with our governments, which is the basis of democracy. It's the basis of holding on to freedom. It's the basis of putting things into a constitution so that it's clear and that we know where the lines are, right? And sometimes they get it wrong. Often they get it right. A lot of the times they get it wrong. But so do individual people, okay? And there are a lot of bad people in the world. So we need these rules. The big institutions who are going to bring the money into this industry in order to bring us up to that next level, they need those rules. They need to know how they can transact with other countries. They need to know how insurance gets applied. They need to know how they're being taxed. They need to know, what safeguards are in place in case of hacking and those sort of things. So, and also the consumers need to know that their money is safe, because it's not all going to be crypto enthusiasts. A lot of these people are just going to be like, you know, regular moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas. And when the world changes the way that the internet changed the world, when the world changes because of crypto to that same extreme, you need to make a world that's reliable for those mom and dads who are spending their time at work and looking after their kids. They don't have time to, engage in some libertarian idealism about blah blah blah. They need to pay their rent. And if their crypto got stolen, there needs to be a way to manage this, right? And it needs to be reliable. And there needs to be ease of access for people with disabilities and elderly people and so they don't get taken advantage of. And the scams need to go away. Like, this industry can't be like 50% scams. The industry can't be based upon meme coins that are Ponzi schemes. That even billionaires support these Ponzi schemes. And when Elon Musk tells you that he got into Doge, what he really means is that he basically stole from vulnerable stupid people, right? He just he just took it at the top of the Ponzi, that's all. He didn't think he didn't think Doge was going to do anything. He wasn't buying it for any reason except to buy at the top of the Ponzi. And whoever was left holding the bag, I mean, he doesn't care about you. Don't pretend he cared about you. He just took the money out of your pocket. And you can idealize that because he's intelligent and he cleverly figured out a way to take the money out of your pocket. How clever of him. He deserved that money. No, no. That's a horrible system. It's a horrible system. Right? People are losing billions of dollars. And just regular people just losing their money left and right on basically scams, on things that don't do anything, under promises being made through third parties, being hired by the dev teams and the creators of these things, which are basically lies. And it's not going anywhere. Most of that stuff's not going anywhere. And so we need something. We need something. Something has to give, right? It can't cover the whole world like that. At some point it needs to be reliable. And when it becomes reliable, you're going to see the Microsofts of crypto be born. You're going to see the Apples of crypto be born. You're going to see the Amazons of crypto be born out of that stability. So that's what we want, right? We don't want to fund Russia in its war on Ukraine. We want to fund new forms of banks that are reliable for our grandparents and for our kids. And so, under the executive order, the Treasury will partner with interagency colleagues to produce a report on the future of money and payment systems. They're making a report, okay? And they're going to just make recommendations. They're already working with, some of these groups. They're really focused on stablecoins because that could threaten the security of the US dollar. And let's face it, we don't want China's money underpinning the international order. Love or hate America, that's up to you, that's your opinion. But you don't want China underpinning the international finance, order. China's, the business of America is business. It's good for business. It should be good for crypto. It's been very good for the internet. I don't think we have anything to fear here. And I think that's why the market is pumping today. Okay? We don't have anything to fear here. If this was scary, then we wouldn't have seen this pump when it was released. We would have seen a drop, right? Something like this. So they seen a drop. And let's see what the White House has to say for itself. They want to protect U.S. consumers, investors, and businesses. Right? Makes sense. You do it for food, you do it for banks, right? Just make sure consumers have some protection. Right? If you get robbed, if somebody takes money out of the exchange that you had your stable coins in, and Coinbase or Binance say, that's your fault. Yeah, we got hacked and someone took your money, but you know what? We're not going to do anything about it. you know? Well, the government can say, you know what, Binance, you need to have insurance. If you're going to accept, accounts, you need to have insurance and you need to pay back somebody who got hacked. And you need to have a way to clarify if it was, you know, uh, the fault of the consumer or the fault of somebody breaking into your systems which were not secure enough. Because in the latter case, that's obviously your fault, Binance, right? And in the former case, maybe it was the consumer's fault, but you need to have a clear policy so that they understand that. They understand what they're responsible for. And maybe you can't have, receipts on MetaMask that don't make sense. Where you can't figure out what happened with your money. You need an engineer to read the statement, right? Maybe there should be a standardized format which is very easy to read for your receipt, right? It would make sense. That would protect consumers, and they could easily check to see if they got the amount of assets that they believe that they should be getting. And maybe there should be a way to figure out, because a lot of these transactions that get lost on MetaMask, they actually are reversible. It's just you can't contact anybody. There's nothing to, and I'm not saying that everything should be centralized. I'm just saying that where there is organization with the expectation of profit, then those people who are profiting need to have a way to handle these type of complaints and to fix what's wrong, and some standards as guidelines for what they need to build around. And then they want to protect the US and global financial stability and mitigate systematic risk. Okay. Sounds like the banks are going to try to weasel their way in a little bit. But overall, that they want to protect the dominance of the US dollar and not have our systems undermined by potential enemies or bad actors like terrorists. Because once people start using crypto on a day to day basis, and if the majority of people start doing that, then hacking could be a big risk. It could, you could lose a lot of money just in the blink of an eye, right? And so, like banks, there may need to be protections in place. And then mitigate the illicit finance and national security risk posed by the illicit use of digital assets. They just want to crack down on crime, right? It's just basically the police, right? That's all, right? These people who, you know, get payments for drugs, get payments for, selling weapons across, national borders, who, you know, sell child porn or different things like that. You have to be able to, you know, crack down on that stuff. You have to be able to police it. You can't just create, you crypto can't just be a wonderland for pedophiles, where now you've got everybody's got a metaverse where, the pedophiles can just be in their own metaverse, and it's decentralized to such an extent that nobody can crack down on it. That's not a good thing. You know, you can't have the terrorists just having their own networks and nobody can do anything about it. I understand that free people also want their own free space and their free speech and all of that. It's definitely good to have that. But there's going to need to be a balance. There's going to need to be a balance. Because criminals are going to use it in very bad ways. And then they're going to become untouchable through crypto, right? You could have your kids growing up in a world where they can just turn on these, pedophile channels and be lured into them. And there's nothing anyone can do because there's no safeguards in place because it's all just a libertarian dream of everyone having their own metaverse and it's untouchable by governments and there's no way to police it and it's unstoppable. You can figure out how to mitigate those risks. And it makes sense to. It makes sense to. You just you just have to strike that balance with freedom. And where that balance comes from, sort of like the internet already, is, people can make good profits on it. So, yeah, we have some moments where, we've had cases where speech has been cracked down too much. That's true. That's very true. But it's never been to the extent that no speech was allowed or that you couldn't find another place to talk. I think what history has shown, at least in most of the democracies, is that it's only been, the harshest on those crimes which really impact people the worst, like terrorism, like pedophilia, like different types of animal abuse, right? And that stuff has largely been, kept separate, kept pushed to the side. Yeah, it exists on the web. We all know that. But it's been kept separate. And so they've been doing a pretty good job, okay, of finding this balance where you can pretty much find whatever you want online, but it's not that easy for your kids to just go on and immediately get into the craziest stuff. I mean, they have to dig around for it now, right? Of course, anyone curious will be able to find that stuff. But it's not like it's in your face and unstoppable. Because what happens is online, if you don't have those rules, the trolls, the people trying to prove a point, they'll just spam it. There will be decapitation videos everywhere. There'll be all of this stuff, right? They just spam it like crazy. And you have to have a way to stop some of that stuff and to stop the crimes and to at least regulate the spaces that are meant for common use as this stuff goes mainstream. I'm not saying there's any easy answers here, but so far we've been doing a pretty good job, okay, in the US about that. And yeah, sometimes it goes too far, but you know what? It's been a pretty good job compared to how it could have been. And I remember the internet being developed. I remember from being a kid how, like, just sometimes you just come across the craziest stuff, right? On the most mainstream platforms. And the technology wasn't there yet to filter it out, right? To have any safeguards in place. And of course, again, like you can find that stuff now, but it's much harder to be like trolled with it and spammed with it. And definitely it's harder to like buy it, right? If you want business to thrive in crypto, you have to make it a place where business wants to be. And business doesn't want to be in a place that's solely catering to these guys who just don't want to pay taxes. They just want to look at child porn and talk about overthrowing the government and spreading conspiracy theories and, you know, just being disgusting in general. It's not a good place. It's not a good place. You can say, well, everyone can have their own internet with crypto. Yeah, yeah. Maybe that is true. Maybe that is true. You can have your clubhouse. But where things overlap, there's going to need to be regulation. Where things have mass adoption, there's going to need to be regulation. And as more and more of life is online, and as individuals are more and more integrated online, there's going to need to be ways to police that. So, support technological advances and ensure responsible development and use of digital assets. They're just going to study this stuff. Study. Promote equitable access to safe and affordable financial services. Now, that's cool. That's cool. I don't know if this is just a friendly way of saying get banks into crypto, or if it really is the promise to create a principle that safe and affordable financial services can be available to the masses. It's probably going to be a mixed bag, right? It's probably going to be a mixed bag. We'll find out. And then explore a US central bank digital currency, the digital dollar. Well, it's probably how the American system of finance that underpins the financial world right now is going to have any capability of surviving in the future. And if we want it to be the dollar instead of, if we want it to be the US dollar instead of the Chinese dollar, with all their authoritarianism and absolute banning of crypto, complete banning of crypto, except for the Chinese digital dollar, then we should probably support this, or we should support these efforts to clean up, to make a better house in crypto, to explore these possibilities, and to look to a future where it's not just a bunch of Ponzi schemes, with blow-off tops and crypto winters, making and breaking people over and over again to extract liquidity out of them. But rather that it's a reliable place that maybe goes up and down like the S&P 500 as opposed to just, crazy, right? So it's reliable for business, reliable for institutions, reliable for your kids, reliable for your parents, and so that we can have good transactions and good experiences. Even if it means that we're leaving the Wild West behind. Right? Even if it means that libertarian dream, it was always a dream. As much as communism, it was always a dream. Okay? Real people live in the real world where you have governments, you have police, you have national security, and where businesses love stability. They love rules. No one loves taxes, but they love stability, they love reliability, and, we can't do it by ourselves. And we can't have agencies just doing it on their own individually. It has to be a whole government approach. So let's see what the future brings, right? And did this change anything today for the price? Not sure. Not sure. Mostly this removed a question, right? This removed a question that was hanging over our heads. What was going to happen with the Biden executive order? We knew an executive order was coming since last year. What we didn't know is what the contents of that order was going to be. Was it going to kill crypto? Or was it going to just be a study? Or was it going to announce something totally unexpected? It was just a point of uncertainty. And so now one thing has been checked off the, crossed off the list, right? We now know what the executive order is going to be. And we still don't know what the Fed is going to do with interest rates. We don't know what Russia's going to do with Ukraine. We don't know the rest of the story of the world. But we have one thing crossed off the list, which is that the Biden administration is not going to kill crypto. It's not going to kill crypto. It's going to support crypto. It's going to give crypto a chance. And it's going to ask for reports. It's not going to ask for things to be shut down. It's going to ask for reports. And these reports are going to take 60, 90, 180 days even for some of them to finish, and then they'll probably have extensions. You know how it gets in the government. Not the most efficient, are they? And so half a year from now, a year from now, maybe we'll have some type of conclusions being thought about. But for now, we know we're safe from the executive order. We're safe from the executive order. It's pretty friendly. It resulted in a pump. We don't know where this pump's going to go. It does seem to be taking us to levels that are sitting on top of this previous high here. Just this one right here. We recovered this candle. Bullish. bullishly. Maybe we can pop up again and again and again, sit on top of here and just go. But was the Biden executive order really considered to be that much of a threat? I don't think anyone expected Biden to just shut down crypto the way that China shut down crypto. And so it was more like just a small piece of uncertainty that could have very big ramifications. And now it's off the table. So we're here instead of here. But we still have the possibility of a global recession. We still have the possibility of nuclear war. We still have the possibility of needing a market correction, which hasn't happened yet. Well, maybe it has. You could argue we filled the CME gap. I mean, there's order blocks here, but kinda we did. There might be another drive down, another point of capitulation for the market. And when I look at where we are and where we have been, I kind of see kind of in this pattern that we were right here. You can look at different time scales. Yeah, there was something different about this double top rounded structure versus this blow off top. But the setups are kind of similar to this point. Anyway, it's the best analogy that I can figure out right now. And for me, that would suggest maybe another retest of the bottom. I mean, we could just pump. We could just pump. Maybe this was the bottom. And it's so controlled now by these institutions and big money and tech companies and entertainment industries and billionaires and all these guys who protect their money. Maybe it's so protected now and sheltered now by the governments and all of that, that maybe we do just have cycles and go up. But the best analogy I can think of is right around here, just based upon the configuration of different indicators and historical points. Maybe because this is divided up and spread out, maybe we're more like over here. So we could still take a leg down. This news is only good for today, right? This news is only good for today. But we didn't fall today, we rose today. And we're doing a retracement right now, just a healthy retracement. We always get these kind of like retracements. Whether we're pumping or dumping, we always get a little consolidation and a retracement. But let's see how it goes. Let's read the final executive order and see what we can make out of this. Because to be honest, that was a very neutral and very balanced statement. And the order, it does seem to balance innovation and security and risk management. So good. Good. Hope you guys are staying safe. That was your alpha for the day, and happy trading.